I love you. But you don't have to remember me. Before the wedding. I was preparing wedding items when my boyfriend suddenly spoke. Vivienne. Let's postpone our wedding. I was stunned and couldn't understand. I hurriedly asked for the reason. 10 years have passed. I no longer have the impulse of being in love. You are now as familiar to me as my relative. I really can't get interested in relatives. Let's separate for a while first. I sat motionless in a daze, struggling to digest what he said. What does it mean that you can't get interested in relatives? If you insist on getting married immediately, it's not impossible. After marriage, I will give you the respect and care you deserve. But I can't guarantee that I can give you the same love as before. If you agree to postpone, and we separate for a while, when the novelty comes back, we can still be like before. I was stunned and looked at a pile of wedding invitations on the table. To make this wedding more meaningful, I specially wrote invitations by hand to every close relative and friend. At present, most of them have been completed. The pen tip hovered. All of a sudden, I didn't know whether I should continue writing. When will it be postponed to? My voice was mixed with a hint of hoarseness. I don't know. Let's see. Frank leaned lazily against the wall. His careless tone immediately aroused my anger. Frank, we will get married the day after tomorrow. Don't you think it's ridiculous for you to say these things now? He looked at me steadily. His dark eyes had no emotion. After a while, he sighed. Vivienne, you are still the most important person to me. I don't want to lie to you. Facing his calm and indifferent appearance, my anger couldn't find an outlet to vent, and was stubbornly held back in my chest. I will explain to relatives and friends. I will move out today. If you need my help, call me and I will come immediately. After saying that, Frank went to the room to pack his luggage. I didn't stop him. I knew that once Frank made a decision, no one could change it. I just don't understand. Obviously he proposed. Obviously we will hold the long-awaited wedding soon. Why did he change his mind at this time? Until Frank finished packing his luggage and went out. We didn't say a word again. Half an hour after Frank went out, I was still sitting in the living room in a daze. I can't tell what I feel in my heart. There is anger, confusion and sadness. Buzz, the mobile phone rang. I glanced at it. It was a call from my best friend and bridesmaid Yuki of my wedding. Hello? I picked up the phone. Vivienne, have you seen the style of bridesmaid dress I sent you? Do you think I should choose a long one or a short one? I think the short one is more beautiful, but the long one is more elegant. Yuki, the wedding is postponed. I interrupted my friend's words in a low voice. Oh? Why? Is there something wrong with the hotel? When will it be postponed to? No. Frank doesn't want to get married. I don't know when it will be postponed either. Maybe there will be no wedding. I said this sentence with difficulty. There was a moment of silence on the phone. And then came Yuki's furious voice. What does that bastard Frank mean? He says he doesn't want to get married? You two have been together for 10 years. You have gone through all kinds of hardships. Why is he doing this now? Yes. We have been together for 10 years. We have experienced 2 years of high school, 4 years of college, 3 years of cross-border postgraduate study and 1 year of living together. There have been hysterical quarrels and silent cold wars. But no one has said goodbye. We both think that breaking up is a well-thought-out decision. Once said, there is no turning back. After so many years, it was almost a happy ending. But he chose to withdraw. It's not true that I'm not sad. More is numbness. Vivienne, are you okay? Do you want me to come and accompany you? Yuki's tone was cautious. I raised a bitter smile at the corner of my mouth. It's okay. I'm fine. It's too late today. Don't bother. Go to bed early. After hanging up the phone, I got up, washed, changed into pajamas and lay in bed. I am a person with strong acceptance. In just half an hour, I seemed to accept the fact that Frank said we would separate temporarily. although I accepted it. I couldn't bear the messy mood and didn't sleep all night. 3. I went to work with a pair of panda eyes. For a whole week. I was working at a high intensity. As long as I was busy enough, I wouldn't think of these annoying things. But every night, I still click on the top occasionally to see if Frank has sent a message. So far, we haven't contacted each other for a week. As if whoever contacts first loses. I stubbornly haven't sent a message actively. It seems that only in this way can I maintain my pride and self-esteem. On Saturday morning, there is still one day left before my father's death anniversary. At this time of year, no matter where I am, I will fly back. No matter how busy Frank is, he will always spare time. Then we hold hands and go to sweep my father's tomb. After thinking for a long time, I still decided to call Frank. The ringtone only rang for a few seconds, and the phone was quickly picked up. Vivienne? Tomorrow is my father's death anniversary. Are you still going? I tried to keep my voice calm. There was a moment of silence on the call. Frank replied, yes. At the old time. We will meet at the gate of the cemetery. After hanging up the phone, the calm state of mind I had maintained with difficulty was stirred up a little. The voice I hadn't heard for a week aroused the longing suppressed in my heart. For the mobile phone rang abruptly. I was woken up when I wanted to have a good sleep. Hello? I picked up the phone in a bad mood. Vivienne? Come to M Square quickly. I'm at the door of a steakhouse. I saw Frank with a girl. As soon as Yuki finished speaking, it was like a blow to my head. My blood seemed to congeal, and my sleepiness immediately disappeared without a trace. On the way there, I thought a lot. Who is this girl? Could she just be his colleague? Maybe a business partner? If he is really cheating, what should I do? My thoughts were in turmoil when I met up with Yuki and sat in the car looking at the two having lunch together. A bitter taste rose from my throat to my heart. It was the worst answer. Frank was cheating. The girl sitting opposite Frank looked very young. From time to time, she looked up and excitedly said something to Frank. Frank also answered with a smile on his face and would even rub the girl's hair. He was completely different from his calm and indifferent self when facing me. That doting smile almost blinded my eyes. Perhaps feeling cold, the girl took out a scarf from her backpack and put it on. My fist clenched instantly, and my breathing almost stopped. That scarf was the one I gave to Frank. It was a birthday present I clumsily knitted for a week when I was in graduate school. I gave it to Frank after crossing a vast ocean. If you say he doesn't cherish it, he still has it after for years. If you say he cherishes it, now this scarf is on another girl's neck. Vivienne, are you okay? Yuki worriedly held my hand. I shook my head, firmly holding back the tears that were about to fall from my eyes that were so sour. They're coming out. Let's follow them. Frank took the girl's hand and got into his car. Frank drove in front and Yuki drove behind. Finally, both cars stopped at H Grand Hotel. I stared masakshtakali at Frank intimately holding the girl and entering the hotel. Without blinking, the knuckles of my tightly clenched fist turned white. This damn scumbag. Vivienne, let's go upstairs and catch them in the act. I grabbed Yuki at once. The bitterness in my throat was almost unbearable. Forget it. Yuki. Let it go. Let's go back. I'm a bit tired. I suddenly lost all my strength. An overwhelming tiredness engulfed me. It's not that I don't want to go up, but that I don't dare. I don't know what my reaction would be if I saw that scene with my own eyes. My upbringing all along doesn't allow me to act like a shrew and curse in the street. I'm afraid I can't control myself and become the person I hate the most. 5. This bastard. Scumbag. Shameless jerk. I really didn't expect Frank to be this kind of person. Let me tell you. Fortunately, we didn't get married. Kick this damn man out earlier. Yuki and I drank glass after glass of wine. Half of a case of beer on the table was already empty. I really want to smash this beer bottle on his head now. Damn it. Yuki cursed angrily. I didn't answer. I just kept drinking. one glass after another. It seemed that only a continuous flow of alcohol could numb the unbearable pain in my heart. Vivienne, if you want to cry, just cry. I'm here. I'm with you. Yuki looked at me worriedly. I looked up and forced a smile uglier than crying, then continued to drink. I don't know how many glasses I had drunk when my eyelashes became wet and sticky, and tears finally burst the banks. The consequence of drinking all night is a splitting headache when I get up in the morning. Yuki is still sleeping like a dead pig beside me. I have to force myself to be energetic and tidy myself up and go out. Today is my father's death anniversary. Yesterday morning, I made an appointment with Frank to meet at the cemetery at 10. Here you are. Frank was wearing a black coat and holding a bouquet of chrysanthemums in his hand. Looking at me steadily, I nodded slightly to him as a greeting. We walked side by side towards my father's tombstone, just like before. Only this time, we were no longer holding hands. I silently put down the bouquet in my hand and cleared the weeds. Frank looked at me for a while, then said softly to the tombstone, "Uncle Chen, don't worry. Vivienne will always be the most important person in my life. I will always keep my promise and won't let her be hurt in any way." The hand I was stroking the tombstone paused. Then I continued to wipe it with a dry towel. "Dad, this should be the last time I bring Frank to see you. Don't worry. Without Frank, I will still live well. I will eat well and sleep well. Although it's a bit regretful that Frank can't be your son-in-law. It doesn't matter. I can still walk on my own in the future. You know, your daughter is the strongest," I said silently in my heart. 6. Where are you going? I'll take you. At the cemetery gate, Frank stood by the road with his hands in his coat pockets and asked me. The hand that I had just opened the DD app paused. "Oh, no need. I was planning to take it axi." Frank chuckled. "Vivienne, don't be so distant with me. Although we are temporarily separated, I am still the person closest to you. Aren't I?" I was speechless for a moment. In the end, I still got into the passenger seat of his car. Along the way, neither of us spoke. There was an awkward atmosphere in the carriage. I had never thought before that one day we could be so awkward. Perhaps this atmosphere was also unbearable for Frank. He spoke first. "Today, Sunny and the others returned to the country. I will have dinner with them tonight." I looked at him, paused, and said, "Oh, Sunny is Frank's friend. I've met a few times before, but obviously I'm not very interested in this topic." I glanced down. In the gap of the passenger seat, I found a hair tie with Winnie the Pooh on it. "It's not mine." Frank also followed my gaze and saw this hair tie. "This is a trainee from my company. Once when it rained, I gave her a ride. It should have been left behind at that time. Before I could even ask," Frank explained. I just nodded and said nothing. Frank seemed a bit angry when he saw my lack of reaction, although I didn't know what he was angry about. In this silent atmosphere, I arrived downstairs at my home. Just as I was about to enter the community, Frank called out to me, "Vivienne." I turned around. Frank had already lit a cigarette and was leaning against the car door. "Forget it. Nothing. Eat well, and don't stay up late." After saying that, he took a long step and sat in the driver's seat and drove away. There's something wrong with him. 7 in the evening. I was putting all the things for marriage into a cardboard box and preparing to pack them up and throw them away. The phone rang importantly again. "Hello? Sister-in-law. This is Sunny. Well, brother Frank is drunk. Can you come and pick him up? You can just send him back directly. We all drank and can't drive. We are all looking for a designated driver. Moreover, we don't know where you live. Or you can tell me the location. We will take a taxi and send him over first." I thought for a while. I didn't know where Frank lived now. And I didn't really want him to stay here. "Send the location. I'll come over now." I casually put on a piece of clothing and went out. When I arrived, Sonny was still clinking glasses with friends beside him. Frank had already passed out on the table. Hey, sister-in-law is here. I nodded to Sonny and was about to help Frank up and leave. Sonny quickly came to help me. Sister-in-law. Sorry. We haven't seen Brother Frank for a long time, and let him drink a few more glasses. By the way, I haven't congratulated you on your happy marriage yet. Your 10-year-long distance love run is really not easy. I will definitely give a big red envelope when I come over. Yes. At that time, we thought you two would break up after graduation. Unexpectedly, you really got married. That's you. I didn't think so. I always thought Brother Frank and sister-in-law would get married. At that time, there were few people with as good relationship as them. You're right. You're right. Didn't Frank tell you? The wedding is cancelled. My words were like a thunderbolt. The scene instantly became quiet. Perhaps this was too unexpected. Sonny and them were stunned on the spot, awkwardly not knowing what to do with their hands and feet. I didn't say much more and dragged Frank out of the door. Since I didn't know where Frank lived, I directly opened a room for him. This big man weighing dozens of kilograms exhausted me so much that I was panting. I threw him on the bed and wanted to leave. But as soon as I turned around, I was pulled by a big hand and fell on him. Frank opened his hazy eyes and took a look at me. Wife. My head is so dizzy. He murmured. I was a bit in a trance. Before, Frank always liked to call me wife and wife. I teased him, we haven't got married yet. You've already started calling me wife. He said inferently, what's the big deal? You will be my wife sooner or later. At that time, he definitely couldn't have imagined that one day he would push me away with his own hands. Ding. My thoughts were pulled back. It was Frank's cell phone that rang. When I threw him just now, the phone fell out of his pants pocket. At a glance, it was a message sent by a person with the note wife. The profile picture was not my photo. It was the girl who had a meal with him that day. There was a line of words clearly on the screen. What should I do? Brother Frank? I'm pregnant. Blood flowed backward into my head. My heart was like being bitten by thousands of ants. My eyes were stung painfully by this line of words. I couldn't help but pick up his cell phone and was impatient to dig out everything about them. The cell phone had a password lock. I tried his birthday. Unlock failed. Then I tried his bank card password. Still unlock failed. I hesitated for a moment and entered my birthday. Unlock succeeded. I couldn't help but sneer. What was this? I opened their chat records and read them word by word. In all the chat records, between the lines, it was all filled with the attachment of a couple in love to each other. It turned out, they had been together half a year ago. I opened the girl's moments. The content was basically a perfect interpretation of beautiful love by a girl. The brown sugar water boiled by Brother Frank is the best. After drinking it, my period doesn't torture me anymore. I have a small nest, a cat, and you. The picture was the shadow of a couple under a street lamp. When I'm sick outside, my parents don't need to worry anymore, because I'm also a girl who has someone accompany me to see a doctor. The picture was a pair of hands intertwined, and on the man's finger was a men's couple's ring, and the matching women's couple's ring was on my hand. I looked at the date of this moments. It was May XX. It was the day when we tried on wedding dresses and finalized the wedding planning. No wonder when we were discussing with the wedding company halfway, Frank suddenly said anxiously that there was an urgent matter in the company, and then drove away, leaving me alone to finalize the wedding dress style and decide all the details of the wedding process. Now thinking about it, it was my blind trust that blinded my eyes. I almost looked at Frank's face viciously. After a violent turmoil in my chest, I forced myself to calm down again. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and slowly took off the couple's ring and put it on his bedside. Frank, I don't want you anymore. We are completely over. 9. Forcibly digging out a person engraved in my heart for 10 years is bloody and very painful. So painful that I have to use alcohol to numb myself. I was sitting on a small stool, gulping down drink after drink. I drank even faster and more recklessly than when I was with Yuki that night. Hey, girl. Drinking like this is bad for your health. Why don't you order a couple of skewers to eat? Seeing my desperate way of drinking, the owner of the barbecue restaurant was worried. I waved my hand and made an okay gesture. Boss. 2 more bottles. Girl. Look at how much you've drunk. I really dare not sell you anymore. Besides, it's already 12 o'clock. We're about to close. Do you want me to call a car for you? I clicked on my phone screen and saw that it was really almost 12 o'clock. I declined the boss's kindness. Got up unsteadily. In front of me, one road seemed to turn into 2. I shook my head and was about to walk to the intersection ahead to take a taxi home. In a daze, I seemed to bump into someone. After that, there was a dizzying sensation, and I completely lost consciousness. 10 ouch. My head hurt so much. I covered my head and got up. The discomfort of a hangover made me frown tightly. Buzzing. I reached under the pillow to feel for my phone, but found nothing. I turned my head to look for it and immediately froze in place. This pillow is not the pillow at my home. I immediately looked around. A spacious bedroom with gray-black decoration tones. I was stunned. This is not my home. I glanced down and saw that the clothes I was wearing yesterday had been replaced by a white men's home clothes. I was struck by lightning. The phone was still buzzing. I picked it up from the bedside. It was a call from Frank. Vivienne. Did you send me to the hotel yesterday? I saw the ring you left behind. Well, it was me. I supported my forehead. Vivienne. I want to tell you something. Say it. Maybe. We are still not suitable. Let's break up. Although we can't be husband and wife. You are still a very important person to me. You can treat me as your elder brother. Okay. I interrupted Frank's words. What did you say? Probably my reaction was not what Frank expected. He was rarely stunned for a moment. I said, let's break up. The ring wasn't left by me. I threw it away. That's it. Bye. I hung up the phone with a snap. I have no mood to argue with Frank at all now. I looked at the man who appeared at the door of the room. This person was holding a cup of coffee in his hand, leaning lazily against the door, and wearing gray home clothes. It was the same style as the one I was wearing. Awake? If you're awake, go wash up and have breakfast. There are new toiletries in the bathroom. Oh. I got up in a daze, washed up, and then sat down at the dining table like a wandering spirit. Yesterday. I tried to ask. Yesterday. You were quite energetic. If there was a mirror. My face must be very green and wonderful. The man chuckled softly. Yesterday. An unknown young lady recklessly staged a false accident. Forget about that. She also vomited all over me and held onto my leg, wailing and not letting me go. To prevent this young lady from being taken advantage of, I could only endure the humiliation and take her back to my home. This person said casually. I buried my head like an ostrich. Don't worry. Your clothes were changed by my aunt. The room you stayed in is a guest room. If there are no other questions, let's eat first. Oh. I continued to eat with my head buried like an ostrich. Then, where are my clothes now? Aunt took them to wash. They haven't been returned yet. This person stared at me with interest. His stare made the back of my ears feel a little hot. Leo. Leo. That's my name. Oh, I'm Vivienne. By the way, add me. Your clothes haven't been washed yet. I'll contact you when they are ready. Oh. I respectfully handed over the QR code with both hands, and then hurriedly said goodbye and returned home. Before leaving, I casually opened this person's moments. The latest one was posted at 12:30 last night. Picked up a little cat. It's quite cute. The picture was of me lying sprawled on the curb, with my hair all over my face, in a completely unglamorous state. Damn it. 11 that night. Leo asked for my home address and delivered the clothes downstairs. I quickly got dressed neatly and went downstairs. Have you eaten? Well, I've eaten. I reached out to take the clothes bag. Then do you want to take a walk? It's not good to have indigestion after a meal. Leo's eyes were full of smiles. Strangely, although this man has a handsome but aggressive face, his words are so gentle that people can't refuse. I agreed almost involuntarily. The evening before winter was a bit cold. I was wearing Leo's scarf around my neck. He was holding my clothes bag in his hand. Because we were standing rather close, our fingers would occasionally touch, and even my heart felt a tingling sensation. It wasn't until I returned home after taking the walk that I realized I had actually forgotten to return his scarf. Well, I had to return it to him. I forgot to return your scarf. I'll bring it to you after work tomorrow. I sent a message. It's okay. I'll come and get it myself. I'll pick you up after work tomorrow. It was almost an instant reply, and I was actually wondering how this person could type while driving. Back and forth. Leo and I got to know each other. After that, every day, Leo would share things around him with me from time to time. Good morning and good night are never missed every day. Sometimes when I get off work, I find Leo already waiting at the company gate. He claims it's on his way so as to have dinner and then send me home. I think to myself, nonsense. Clearly it's in two opposite directions. It's not on the way at all. He didn't even come up with a better excuse. Unconsciously, it's been a long time since I last thought about that awful thing with Frank. On this day, I was gobbling down takeout with Yuki when my phone dinged. This one has a good rating. I want to see it. A message from Leo. In a few seconds. As if afraid that I might not agree, he sent another sentence. Today is my birthday. Rejecting seems to make me very cruel. Seeing me staring at the screen without moving for a long time. Yuki snatched my phone. Hey. Who's this? He's even inviting you to watch. Do you have another woman behind my back? It's the man who helped me that night as I told you last time. Damn. Yuki let out an exclamation. Then what are you waiting for? I'll directly reply yes for you. Her fingers were flying, blocking my attempt to snatch it back. She replied with the okay. Then at 3 in the afternoon, I'll pick you up. There was an immediate reply. This woman suddenly jumped up again, pulled my arm and dragged me into the room. Oh my God. Oh my God. There's no time. Hurry up. Hurry up. What's going on? Put on makeup. When going on a date with a man, how can you not dress up? Today, you must completely win him over. Yuki was like being on a high. Foundation, eyeshadow, and loose powder were all applied on my face without omission. Just like playing Miracle Nikki. She tried on all the dresses in the closet. Finally, after trying on white high heels and a goose yellow thin woolen long dress, she stopped. I have to say, you really deserve to be the school beauty in high school. When dressed up, there's really nothing to pick on. Yuki nodded in satisfaction, as if admiring a perfect work of art. I looked at myself in the mirror and was a bit dazed. Indeed, I haven't tittied myself up for a long time these days. Perhaps it's time for me to step into a new life. I went downstairs on time. Leo had already been waiting at the door in his car for who knows how long. From the moment I got in the car to fastening my seat belt, this person's gaze never left me for even a moment. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing. It's just that I'm mesmerized by this beautiful lady in front of me. Leo turned his head and started the car, with a smile on his lips. Thanks for the compliment. This gentleman is also outstanding. I joked. Leo's hair was neatly standing up, although his clothes and pants were in a casual style. There were almost no wrinkles. There was also a faint smell of men's perfume in the car. Obviously, he had also made some careful preparations. The car music started playing. The clear singing floated into the ears. The sunlight shining in through the window seemed to have a hint of tenderness. With 12 minutes left before the start, we arrived at the theater. I haven't worn high heels for so long. After walking for only a short while, my feet started to ache terribly. What would you like to eat? Popcorn and Coke. Okay. Find a place to sit. I'll be back soon. I looked at the waiting area. There were just 2 empty seats left. But I had to share the table with others. Looking closely again, the 2 people sitting there were actually Frank and his girlfriend. The girl was leaning in Frank's arms. The 2 were looking at the same mobile phone, chatting and laughing. What a narrow encounter. To make my feet suffer less, I still walked forward. Excuse me. Is this seat taken? No one. The girl answered reflexively. As Frank looked up, our eyes met. Oh, isn't this brother Frank? What a coincidence. This must be sister-in-law, right? Nice to meet you. I'm Frank's nominal sister, Vivienne. Hello. I'm Mela. I politely extended my hand and shook hands with the girl. Frank rubbed his temples. Vivienne, don't be naughty. You don't need to follow me. No. It's a big misunderstanding. I'm just here to watch a movie. Nothing else. Really. Frank obviously still didn't believe it. Just as he was about to say something, I had already opened my phone and started looking at it. Frank looked at me with a dark expression in his eyes, while the girl looked at him in confusion. For a moment, none of the 3 of us spoke. Let's go. Ticket checking has started. Leo, holding popcorn in his hand, touched my head. I very naturally took it over. Without looking at Frank's reaction, I entered the theater side by side with Leo. I thought it was already very coincidental to meet Frank in the same screening. Unexpectedly, even more coincidentally, the 4 of us bought tickets for the same row. They were even consecutive seats. Now I have Frank sitting on my left and Leo sitting on my right. I really want to die. Watching the movie intermittently. The air conditioning was a bit cold. I rubbed my arms. Leo directly took off his coat and put it on me. You wear so little. You care more about style than warmth. Now you're suffering the consequences. I vengeful light pinched Leo's arm. He gasped. I couldn't see Frank's expression clearly. Only his gaze from that side seemed tangible, making me extremely uncomfortable. Finally, after the movie ended with difficulty, on my way to the restroom, Frank pulled me to the wall. Vivienne. Who is he? What's it to you? It's only been a few days since we broke up. Have you found a new man? Or even before we broke up, you already. Frank was obviously very angry and flustered. Many passers-by were already looking at us. Stop. Frank. Don't put what you did on me. I said coldly. I didn't say it doesn't mean I don't know. I just want to give our 10 years a decent ending. When did you? There was a trace of shock in Frank's eyes. It doesn't matter anymore. Frank. As you said. From now on I'll regard you as my elder brother. But if it's not necessary, let's not meet anymore. I turned to leave but was pulled back again. Even if I'm your brother, I still need to know who he is. I swore to your dad that I wouldn't let you get hurt in any way. What if he? That's enough. Frank. I really couldn't bear it anymore. Haven't you always been the one who brought me harm? Frank was stunned by my roar. Cheating before marriage and pretending with me for half a year. Aren't you tired of pretending? What being as familiar as family members and not being interested are all just your excuses for cheating. I should be glad that you called off the engagement. Otherwise, if I really got married to you, I would feel even more disgusted than eating a fly. Since we broke up, everything about me has nothing to do with you. If you want to be a brother, don't meddle in things that are beyond your responsibility. Your wife is about to come out. I'm leaving. I left angrily. Frank reached out to stop me but withdrew his hand when he saw Ella coming out of the restroom. 13 Leo was driving, his fingers tapping on the steering wheel intermittently. Don't you want to explain? Oh no. He saw it. I had to tell him everything in detail. Leo's fingertips were still tapping rhythmically. It's okay. Everyone has moments of being blind. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief. He said again. But being blind for 10 years is really rare. Fortunately, your vision is not bad now. Leo said with a hint of a smile. I didn't know if he was talking about himself or something else. I turned my head away and didn't respond. I felt inexplicably hot in the car and had an itchy throat. Leo took me to an upscale private restaurant. I bought a small birthday cake on the way. Before cutting the cake, I insisted that Leo make a wish. Leo couldn't resist me and closed his eyes and put his hands together. Have you finished making your wish? Yes. Come on. Blow out the candles. Don't you want to ask me what wish I made? Leo blew out the candles. Why should I ask you? Wishes can't be told. If you tell them, they won't come true. Really? But I think some wishes only come true if you say them out loud. I looked into Leo's eyes as if something was about to burst out. My heart was beating like a drum. Vivienne, my wish is that the woman who accompanies me on my birthday today can be with me in the future. I'm not an animal who cheats before marriage. As long as it's the person I've identified. It's for a lifetime. It seemed that all the sounds around stopped for an instant. I looked at Leo deeply for a long time. I sat up straight. Leo. I just ended a 10-year relationship. So? I still can't be sure if I've really gotten over it. Leo was silent. I smiled. But I'm willing to give it a try with you. Just like crashing into fireflies in summer. His eyes lit up. Although I was hurt all over by love before. I can't deny that love is really a wonderful thing. I'm glad that I still have the ability to love. If I had to choose someone to spend the rest of my life with now, I hope that person is you. Please bear with me in the future. Boyfriend, I extended my hand to Leo. Leo laughed and pulled my hand over. Somehow, he took out a dime and studded platinum ring and forcefully put it on my middle finger. Now you call me boyfriend. Sooner or later, I'll make you call me husband. 14. I didn't have to wait until later. That night, this damn man forced me to call him again and again. This man's stamina is like that of an animal. He doesn't stop at all, and makes a fuss until late at night. The sunlight streamed in through the not fully drawn curtain. I was awakened by the brightness. I struggled to prop up my upper body with my hands. My lower back was still tingling with soreness. Before I could fully sit up, I was pulled into an embrace by a pair of big hands. It's still early. I'm so sleepy. Let's sleep a little longer. Let me hold you. I put my arms around Leo's waist and closed my eyes contentedly. Before I could fall asleep, this damn phone rang again. I answered it impatiently. Hello? Vivienne. Why didn't you come home last night? Where did you spend the night? I hung up immediately and burrowed back into Leo's arms, closing my eyes to catch up on sleep. After a few seconds, my eyes suddenly opened. What day is it today? Monday. What's wrong? I almost jumped up from the bed. 15 minutes later, I was sitting in the passenger seat of Leo's car, gobbling up a bun I bought on the side of the road. Fortunately, your home is only 10 minutes drive from my company. Otherwise, I would lose my full attendance bonus this month. Leo propped his head with one hand and controlled the steering wheel with the other. Are you afraid that your husband can't support you? Still care about that little full attendance bonus? Theft. I rolled my eyes. You see, your husband's home is so close to your company. Do you consider moving here? I'll make sure you get full attendance every month. Huh? That's a bit much. I nodded vigorously and agreed immediately. During work hours, Frank's calls still kept coming. I was annoyed and directly put him on the blacklist. In the evening after work, I was going to go home to get a few changes of clothes, and then return to Leo's place. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Frank sitting gloomily in the living room. Do you still have the heart to come back? I'll just take a few clothes and leave. I walked straight to the room. Frank got up and followed me. Where on earth did you go last night? Why didn't you come home? I ignored him and kept picking clothes from the closet. Frank suddenly grabbed my hand. Speak. Are you with that man? Frank's voice suddenly increased. I frowned. He caught sight of my ring and exerted even more force, making me gasp in pain. Where did you get this ring? Did that man give it to you? Frank. You know very well that we have broken up. You have no right to interfere in my affairs anymore. I raised my hand to brush Frank away, but he grabbed my shoulders and forced me directly into the corner, making my back go numb from the impact. My collar was pulled down a bit, revealing some faint bluish-purple marks. He suddenly reddened his eyes. You actually, are you so shameless? I adjusted my collar. We are in a relationship. What's the problem? Vivienne, we just broke up. Frank gritted his teeth a little. So? At least I'm in a normal relationship. Unlike some people who cheat and get someone else pregnant. I smiled mockingly. Frank's body visibly stiffened. That was an accident. It doesn't matter. Frank, I know you really like Ella. Ella probably doesn't know about our relationship yet. Since you really like her, cherish her well. Don't disappoint this one and then disappoint the next. I pried off Frank's hand and freed myself from his restraint. But I don't want to see you with another man. Frank lowered his eyes. I was almost amused by this. What is this? Wanting it all? Frank, there's no such good thing in the world. Let it go. It's all in the past. People always have to move forward. I opened the suitcase, rolled up the clothes and threw them in. Then I closed the suitcase and was about to leave. When passing by Frank, he gently grabbed my wrist and murmured, "Why can you let go of 10 years of relationship so easily and so thoroughly? And then you turn around and fall in love with another man? I can't compare to you. You can fall in love with another woman without even turning around." I continued walking forward. Behind me came Frank's deep and hoarse voice. "Vivienne, if I say I regret it, if I break it off with her and continue to marry you, can you come back?" I paused. No. After all, it's been 10 years. Now you are as familiar to me as my own brother. I really can't be interested in facing my own brother. A choked sound came from behind. I left without looking back. 16 in the middle of the night. I lay exhausted on the bed, with my whole waist encircled by Leo from behind. I picked up my phone to check the time, but saw a new friend request in my contacts. It was from Ella. I was puzzled for a moment and clicked to accept. "Are you free to meet tomorrow noon? I'll wait for you at the coffee shop in M Square." What does this mean? Coming to show off? After a little hesitation, I still replied, "Okay." At noon the next day, I went to the appointment as scheduled. Ella had already arrived. I pulled out a chair and sat opposite her. She looked haggard and her eyes were red. Obviously, she had just been crying. "What do you want to see me for?" Ella looked at me with her red eyes like a rabbit. "Sister Vivienne, I'm sorry. Really sorry. I didn't know that Frank had been in a relationship with you for 10 years. I didn't mean to destroy your relationship. I really didn't know." As Ella spoke, she began to shed tears again. "I feel so guilty. I've caused you so much harm. If I had known earlier that Frank was with you, I would never have agreed to be in a relationship with him." I looked steadily at Ella. This sad posture didn't seem fake. I sighed softly. "How did you find out?" Yesterday Frank came back reeking of alcohol and kept muttering your name. I felt something was very wrong. While he was drunk, I unlocked his phone with his fingerprint and then saw your previous chat records. I really can't believe it. I didn't expect that things would turn out like this. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to you. I didn't sleep all night. I really can't feel at ease." Ella covered her face and cried. I handed her a tissue. "It's not your fault. It's Frank's fault." She took the tissue and wiped her tears in a messy way. "What are you going to do next?" "I want to break up with him." There was determination in Ella's eyes. What about the child? I don't know. Ella hunched her back even more. I don't want to keep this child. But when I first found out I was pregnant, although I was scared to death, later more and more I was looking forward to this little one. I naively thought that I would have a family. I picked up my water glass and took a sip of water. Ella, I hope you think it through. If you plan to break up, think about what this child will face after it is born if you keep it. Of course, I respect your decision, no matter whether you keep it or not. If you need any help, you can come to me. Thank you, Sister Vivienne. Thank you so much. Ella looked at me with teary eyes. That expression looked like she was about to kneel down to me. Just as I was about to get up and leave, a familiar voice came from the door again. Vivienne? 17, it's Frank. He strode towards us. His brows knitted so tightly that they could squash a fly. I thought he would come to accuse me. But unexpectedly, he stood in front of me in a protective stance and said to Ella, Ella, what on earth are you doing? Who allowed you to look for Vivienne? If you have any anger, direct it at me. Don't trouble her. The coldness in his tone was exactly the same as when he told me to postpone the wedding. Ella stood there in a daze, her eyes full of disbelief. I sneered. Frank, in the 10 years we've been together, it seems that only today do I truly know the real you. He turned to look at me, somewhat at a loss. Vivienne. I ignored Frank and looked directly at Ella. What I said just now is true. If you are in trouble, you can come to me at any time. Then I passed by the two of them and walked towards the door. Ella, what on earth did you say to Vivienne? After Frank's reprobative voice, there was an extremely loud and clear slap. Frank, you heartless bastard. I want to break up with you. I curved my mouth. Even a rabbit will bite when it's cornered. Then I stepped into the car that had been waiting for a long time. 18, all settled? Yeah. It's all over. If your ex-husband keeps pestering you, I'll show him my manly charm. I playfully punched Leo. You're so glib. After that day, I completely moved into Leo's house. During the day, I go to work as usual. At night, I'll lean in Leo's arms and watch something wonderful. But from time to time, I'll see a familiar figure downstairs at the company or downstairs at Leo's house. He always stands quietly, smokes for a while, and then leaves quietly. Since he didn't disturb me, I didn't pay much attention. Later, Ella also told me that she asked Frank to give her 200 yuan and went to the hospital to abort the child. She plans to go back to her hometown for development and will never come back again. I thought for a while and told her to take good care of herself first, and not leave any root cause of illness. One night, I received a call from Sunny. Sister-in-law. Brother Frank is drinking recklessly. Can you come and persuade him? Don't call me sister-in-law anymore. We broke up a long time ago. What he's doing now has nothing to do with me. Sister Vivienne. Brother Frank really knows he's wrong. You've been in a relationship for so many years. Can you give him another chance? No. My boyfriend will be jealous. After a short silence and a slight sigh, the call was hung up. I conveniently pulled this number into the blacklist, and then went to the bathroom to bring pajamas for a certain dog man who always forgets to take his clothes. Since then, Frank's figure has never appeared in my sight again. It's another anniversary of Dad's death. I brought Leo to the grave. Leo sincerely offered incense and kowtow Ed 3 times. Holding my hand, he said, Dad, this is the first time we meet. I'm Leo. Vivienne and I will get our marriage license tomorrow. For the rest of our lives. She will always be my top priority. I will grow old with her and be buried in the same grave after death. I tightened my hold on Leo's hand and then softly said, Dad, this time, your daughter won't make a wrong choice again. If you have a spirit in heaven, please bless us. A magnificent rainbow appeared in the sky that had been drizzling sparsely. How wonderful. The sky is clearing up.